I'm Jennifer Wade, 32 years old, Senior PR Manager at Coastal Edge Communications, Sydney. I close million-dollar deals before lunch, and I don't cry in public. But tonight, I'm sitting in a restaurant in the Rocks, harbour lights bleeding gold across the water, an engagement ring on my finger. And my family isn't picking up. Jeremy proposed between the main course and dessert, got down on one knee right there, linen napkins and everything. I said yes so fast he laughed. First person I wanted to call was Thelma, my mum. 3 calls, straight to voicemail. Rocky, my dad, same. Alex, my brother, voicemail. Jeremy watched me try. He kept smiling, but I know that face. 4 years together. He was already doing the math. Maybe they're just busy, he said. I nodded, put the phone down, finished my dessert. I didn't find out why nobody answered until midnight, and what I saw on that screen made the ring on my finger feel very, very heavy.
47 photos. Not one, 47. Alex posted them at 9 p.m. I found them at midnight, sitting on the edge of our bed, ring still on, Jeremy asleep beside me. Every family member I have in this country was in those photos. Mum, Dad, aunties I haven't seen in 2 years, cousins who never return my texts, all dressed up, all smiling. The banner behind them read, "Congratulations on your promotion." The timestamp on the first photo, 7:43 p.m. Jeremy proposed at 7:51 p.m. My phone was ringing while they were doing a toast. Dad commented, "So proud of our boy." Mum posted, "The Wade name is in good hands." 34 likes on that one. I scrolled for 20 minutes. Not one person mentioned me. Nobody thought to say, "Has anyone called Jennifer?" Nobody called back that night. Not the next morning either. Mum texted at 11 a.m. "Saw you called. Everything okay?" I typed back, "I got engaged last night." She replied, "Oh, wonderful. We must celebrate soon. Alex's dinner ran so late we were exhausted." A laughing emoji. That was it. I never do with this family. I've had practice. At 11, I sat alone at my own birthday table because they went to Alex's debating finals and promised they'd be back in time. They weren't. At 17, Dad forgot to pick me up from my school formal. I waited 45 minutes in heels before my friend's mum drove me home. When I got my first promotion at Coastal Edge, I called home excited. Dad said, "That's good, love," then immediately asked if I could help Alex update his resume. I was always the bookmark, the one they'd get back to eventually, and I kept letting it happen. Until 3 days after the engagement, when Mum called. "Jennifer, we're planning Alex and Danielle's anniversary dinner. Nothing big. Could you handle the catering? You're so good at organising. And your father thinks $5,000 from your bonus would cover the venue." Not, "Congratulations." Not, "When can we properly meet Jeremy?" $5,000 for Alex's anniversary party. From the woman who sent me a laughing emoji when I told her I got engaged. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I said, "I'll think about it, Mum." Then I hung up and opened my laptop. Not to vent, not to cry, to plan. Amanda was the first person I told. Not Jeremy, not my therapist. Amanda Cho, my closest friend at Coastal Edge, who has sat across from me for 5 years and never once sugarcoated anything. I showed her the Facebook photos on a Monday morning before anyone else arrived at the office. She scrolled in silence, then she put my phone down and looked at me. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing yet," I said. "I'm still counting." Counting was the right word. I had kept everything, not obsessively, just quietly.
The way you do when you grow up understanding that nobody else is keeping track of you. Old diary entries, screenshots, a folder on my laptop I started at 19 simply labelled Family that I never showed anyone. Inside that folder was a spreadsheet, 10 years of birthdays, milestones, graduations and celebrations. 2 columns, Alex, Jennifer. The numbers told the story better than I ever could. Mum and Dad spent $43,000 on Alex across those 10 years. Formal gifts, car deposit, Europe trip for his 21st, university laptop, graduation dinner at a restaurant I've never been to. My column totaled $6,200, including the $800 watch they gave me for Christmas one year that I later found out was originally bought for Alex, but he didn't like it. 3 weeks after the engagement, Dad called, not to apologise, not to ask about Jeremy, to follow up on the $5,000. Your mother mentioned you hadn't confirmed. The venue needs a deposit this week, Jennifer. I let him finish. Then I said, I'll get back to you, Dad. He paused. Dad does not get told, I'll get back to you. This is family, Jennifer. Alex would do it for you. I almost laughed. Instead, I said, I have a meeting. I'll call you later. I didn't call him later. What I did instead was meet with a financial advisor on a Thursday afternoon in the city. Her name was Claire. Efficient, direct, no unnecessary questions. I showed her my bonus, my savings, my super, my salary. She looked at the numbers, then looked at me. What's the goal? I want to buy property, I said. Somewhere that belongs entirely to me. No joint names, no family input. She nodded and started typing. By Friday, I had a pre-approval. By the following Tuesday, I was driving up the Pacific Highway toward Byron Bay, windows down, a real estate listing on my passenger seat. 3-bedroom beach house, wraparound deck, direct water view, motivated seller. I stood on that deck for 4 minutes. Then I called Claire. I'll make an offer today. I didn't tell Mum, I didn't tell Dad, I didn't tell Alex. I told Jeremy, who said nothing for a moment, then said, Is there room for a surfboard? I said yes. He said, Then I'm in. That was the easiest conversation I had all month. Settlement came through on a Wednesday. I signed the papers in a quiet office in Sydney, drove straight to Amanda's desk and put the keys on her keyboard without a word. She looked at them, then at me. Byron Bay? Byron Bay. She screamed quietly into her cardigan. That evening I posted one photo, just one. Me on the deck, barefoot, glass of wine, ocean behind me. Caption, bought myself a little something. Took 32 years, but here we are. I put my phone face down on the railing and watched the sun drop into the water. I knew what was coming. I just wasn't in a hurry anymore. The photo had 200 likes before Mum even saw it. Mum called at 7:08 a.m. I was making coffee. I let it ring. She called again at 7:11, then 7:15, then 7:19. By the time I picked up, she had called 6 times in 11 minutes. Impressive for a woman who couldn't answer once on the night her daughter got engaged. Jennifer Elizabeth Wade. Full name. She only does that when she wants me to feel 12 years old again. Where did you get money for a house? Not congratulations. Not it looks beautiful. Not even are you okay? Where did you get the money? My bonus, Mum. That money was meant to help this family. Your father and I assumed you were being responsible with it. I poured my coffee slowly. Buying property isn't responsible. Don't be smart. You know what I mean. Alex's anniversary venue still needs that deposit, Jennifer. We told you that weeks ago, and now you've gone and spent it on a holiday house. It's not a holiday house. My name is on the title. Silence. Then, people are going to ask questions. The Pattersons already texted me. Reverend Mitchell saw your post. How do you think this looks for our family? Not concern for me, concern for how it looks. It looks like I bought a house, Mum. I have to get ready for work. I hung up before she could use my full name again. Dad's approach was different. He didn't call, he showed up. Coastal Edge Communications, Level 14, Martin Place, Sydney, 2:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. Amanda spotted him at reception and texted me one word, incoming. I met him in the corridor before he could reach my office. Dad in a wool blazer, silver hair combed back, the kind of man who takes up space in a room without trying. Dad, this is my workplace. Then act like a professional. His voice was low but sharp. Professionals honor their family obligations. I guided him toward an empty meeting room, closed the door. What do you want? He sat without being invited to. I want to know what you think you're doing. Your mother hasn't slept. You've embarrassed this family in front of people we've known for 20 years, and you still haven't transferred the deposit money for your brother's anniversary. I'm not transferring any money, Dad. He looked at me the way he always does when I say something he's decided not to process, like I'd spoken in a language he didn't recognize. I beg your pardon. I said no. The house was my money. The bonus was mine. I earned it. Everything in this family is shared, Jennifer. That's how families work. I thought about the spreadsheet. 43,000 versus 6,200. Shared. Is it? Flat. Not a question. His jaw tightened. Your brother would never do this. I know. Alex has always understood what it means to be part of this family, to contribute, to show up. I've been showing up my whole life, Dad. You just never looked. He stood, chair scraping back. Then he called me the wrong name. Not Jennifer, a completely different name, one that wasn't mine. He's done that my entire life and never once noticed. I opened the meeting room door. I have a client call in 4 minutes. He left. I watched him go from the corridor window, flagging a taxi on Martin Place, still looking like the most important person on the street. My hands were shaking slightly, but my voice hadn't cracked once. I counted that as a win. Alex came 3 days later. Not to the office. He waited outside my apartment building on a Thursday evening, leaning against his BMW like this was casual. Jen. I kept walking toward the entrance. Alex? Can we just talk? You can walk with me to the lift. He followed. We stood in the lobby waiting, his reflection next to mine in the glass doors. Mum's really upset, he said. I know. Dad's been calling everyone. Uncle Brett, the Pattersons. It's become this whole thing. I know that too. So why won't you just... He stopped, reorganized. Look, I get that you're angry, but the anniversary dinner is important to Danielle, and $5,000 isn't that much for you right now. I turned and looked at my brother properly for the first time in that conversation. He genuinely believed what he was saying. That was the thing about Alex. He wasn't cruel. He was just completely, utterly unaware. He'd grown up in the centre of every room and had no idea there was anyone standing at the edges. Alex, I said quietly, do you know what Jeremy and I were doing the night you got promoted? He blinked. What? We were at a restaurant in the Rocks. Jeremy proposed. I called Mum 3 times.
Dad twice, you once. I watched his face. Nobody answered. You were all doing a toast. The lift arrived. I stepped in. I found out through your Facebook post at midnight while Jeremy was asleep. The doors began to close. I'm not angry, Alex. I'm just done. That weekend, I drove back up to Byron Bay alone. Jeremy was at a work conference in Melbourne. Amanda offered to come, but I said no. I needed the quiet. I spent Saturday painting the spare bedroom, soft white with blue trim. No reason, just because I could. Sunday morning, I sat on the deck with coffee and watched two surfers work the break below the house, unhurried, just existing. My phone had 14 unread messages. I knew without looking who they were from. I left them unread and went inside to make breakfast. Somewhere between the eggs and the toast, I realised something. For the first time in 32 years, I had spent an entire weekend without managing anyone else's feelings. It felt so unfamiliar, it almost felt wrong. But it wasn't wrong. It was just new. Monday morning, Dexter called me into his office before I reached my desk. He slid a folder across the table. The Northbridge campaign numbers came in. I opened it. 38% increase in client revenue, quarter on quarter. The board approved your senior director promotion this morning, effective next month. I looked at the page for a moment. Then I looked up. Thank you, Dexter. Don't thank me. You did this. I walked back to my desk and opened my laptop. 6 unread messages from Mum, 2 from Dad, 1 from a cousin named Elaine asking if everything was okay at home, 1 email from Dexter's assistant confirming my promotion in writing. I read the promotion email twice, then I archived everything from the family without opening it. Some things can wait. Others already came true without anyone's permission.
Mum organised it like a formal dinner. Good china, candles, beef Wellington, the whole performance. She texted me on a Wednesday. Family dinner Sunday, 6 p.m. We need to talk properly, Jennifer. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. I replied, I'll be there. Then I spent 3 evenings preparing, not my outfit, not what I was going to say, my evidence. I printed the spreadsheet, 10 years, 2 columns, highlighted in yellow wherever the gap was too large to ignore, which was almost every row. I pulled 3 photo albums from a box I kept under my bed in the Byron Bay house, not because I'm sentimental, because I documented everything. Mum and Dad don't know that about me. They never asked enough questions to find out. I also printed the Facebook post, Alex's promotion party, timestamp visible, 7:43 p.m. I printed my phone log beside it, my calls to Mum, Dad, and Alex, 7:51 p.m., unanswered. I put everything in a manila folder. Amanda saw it on my desk Friday morning and raised both eyebrows. You're going in prepared. I'm going in with facts, I said. There's a difference. She nodded slowly. Do you want me to be on standby? No. I closed the folder. This one I do alone. Sunday evening, the Wade family home in Mossman sat exactly as it always had. 2 stories, sandstone front, perfectly trimmed hedges, the kind of house that looks warm from the outside. I rang the doorbell instead of using my key. Dad opened the door. All of him, tall and certain, silver hair combed, a glass of red already in his hand. His eyes went straight to the manila folder under my arm. You're late, he said, turning away without waiting for a response. No hug, just criticism. Consistent, at least. Mum was in the dining room adjusting napkins. She looked up when I walked in, eyes already red-rimmed, tissues tucked into her sleeve. Jennifer! Her voice broke on the second syllable, perfectly timed. I've watched Mum cry my entire life. I know the difference between her real tears and her useful ones. Tonight was useful ones. Mum. I kissed her cheek and sat down. Alex and his wife Danielle were already seated. Alex looked uncomfortable. Danielle looked like she wished she was somewhere else entirely. I didn't blame her. Dinner started the way it always does. Dad talked, Mum agreed, Alex deflected. Halfway through the main course, Dad set down his fork and looked me directly. "We need to address what's been happening, Jennifer." I put down my fork too. "Okay." "Your behaviour over the past several weeks has been disruptive to this family. The house purchase without consultation, ignoring your mother's calls, refusing to contribute to your brother's anniversary. People are asking questions we can't answer." "Who?" "The community, our friends, people who have known this family for decades." I nodded slowly. "And what are they asking?" "They want to know why our daughter is behaving like a stranger." I reached down and placed the manila folder on the table. "Can I show you something?" Dad's jaw tightened. "This isn't the time for—" "It won't take long." I opened the folder. First, the spreadsheet. I turned it to face them and let them read it in silence. Mum leaned forward, squinting. Dad's expression didn't change, but his hand tightened around his wineglass. 10 years, I said quietly. 2 columns. I'm not angry about the numbers. I just want you to see them. That's not... Dad started. I haven't finished. He stopped. I slid the photo albums across next, 3 of them. I'd tabbed the pages I wanted them to see. The first album was Alex's, birthday after birthday, professionally photographed, cars with giant bows, overseas trips, graduation dinners, a childhood that looked like a catalogue. The second album was mine. I'd filled what I could, a few scattered photos, me at a school formal Mum didn't attend because Alex had a football final, me alone at a cafe on my 21st birthday because the family trip to Bali that weekend didn't have room in the budget for my ticket too. A lot of empty pages. Mum's hand trembled slightly as she turned them. "There was nothing to put in it," I said. "That's not an accusation, it's just what happened." Then I placed the final page on the table, Alex's Facebook post. Timestamp visible, 7:43 p.m. My phone log beside it, 3 calls to Mum, 2 to Dad, 1 to Alex, all at 7:51 p.m. All unanswered. "Jeremy proposed that night. I called you all immediately. You were doing a toast." The table went very quiet. Danielle looked at Alex. Alex looked at the tablecloth. Mum made a small sound that wasn't quite a word. Dad sat very still. I found out through the Facebook post at midnight while Jeremy was asleep. I read the comments for 20 minutes and not one person mentioned me. Not one person thought to check if I was okay. I closed the folder. 3 days later, Mum called to ask for $5,000 toward Alex's anniversary venue. More silence. Then Dad cleared his throat. "Quinn." He used the wrong name again. "Jennifer," I said, calm, even. "My name is Jennifer." His face shifted, something between embarrassment and irritation. "Jennifer," he said it like a concession. "Jennifer, we never meant for you to feel overlooked, but you have to understand, Alex's career trajectory has always required more support, more investment. That's not favoritism, that's practicality." I looked at my father for a long moment. 32 years I had waited for something different from that man, some acknowledgement, some reckoning, even a real apology would have done it once. But practicality, that's what he landed on. I stood up. I'm not here to punish you. I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I came tonight because I wanted you to see the record, what actually happened, not the version where I'm difficult or dramatic or ungrateful. I picked up my folder. You have the receipts, and I'll always have the receipts. Mum reached for my arm. Jennifer, please, don't leave like this. We can fix this. I looked at her hand on my arm, then at her face. I know you believe that, Mum. I said it gently because I meant it gently. But some things don't get fixed. They just get understood. I walked to the front door. Behind me, Alex said my name. Mum started crying. Real ones this time, I think. Dad said nothing. I closed the door behind me quietly. No slam, no drama. Just a click. And then the cool Mossman air and the sound of my own footsteps walking away from a house that never quite felt like mine. The morning of my 33rd birthday, I woke up to the sound of waves. No alarm, no phone buzzing with obligation, just the ocean doing what it does every morning, whether anyone is watching or not. Jeremy was already on the deck with coffee. He handed me a cup without a word, and we sat together, watching the break below the house. Two surfers, early light, the kind of quiet that doesn't need filling. This time last year, I was sitting alone in my Sydney apartment, staring at an engagement ring, wondering why nobody called back. I thought about that woman sometimes, how small she had made herself, trying to fit into spaces that were never built for her. I didn't miss her, but I understood her. By 11 a.m, the Byron Bay house was full. Amanda arrived first, predictably, with a cake that had 33 candles and a bottle of French champagne she absolutely could not afford and bought anyway. Dexter came with his wife and a handwritten card that said simply, "To the best hire I ever made." Colleagues from Coastal Edge filled the deck. People who had watched me work through 5 years of campaigns and pitches and late nights and had chosen to show up on a Sunday morning just because I existed. Samantha, my 84-year-old neighbour from my Sydney apartment building, sat in the best chair on the deck, wrapped in a cardigan despite the warmth, eating strawberries and holding court like she owned the place. She'd driven up with Amanda the night before and slept in the blue spare room I painted myself. She pulled me down to her level when I came to check on her and held my face in both hands. "You look different," she said. "Different how?" "Settled," she patted my cheek. "Like you finally stopped waiting for permission." Jeremy made his famous smashed avo on sourdough in my kitchen for 15 people without complaining once. He burned the first batch of bacon, blamed the oven, and nobody believed him. I stood in the kitchen doorway watching him and thought, this is what I chose. This specific, quiet, reliable man who drove 3 hours to Byron Bay on a Tuesday just to assemble flat-pack furniture with me because I didn't want to wait for the weekend. He caught me looking and raised a piece of burnt bacon in a toast. I laughed and went back to the party. Mid-afternoon, the toast happened. Amanda stood on the deck with her champagne glass and tapped it with a fork until everyone quieted. "I'm going to keep this short because Jennifer hates speeches and also because I'm already on my 3rd glass." Laughter. 1 year ago, Jennifer Wade bought herself a beach house in Byron Bay with her own money that she earned herself. Her family called it irresponsible. Amanda paused. Her family was wrong. More laughter. Some cheers. She also got promoted to senior director. She saved the Northbridge account single-handedly. She got engaged to a man who actually shows up. Amanda looked at Jeremy. Present company included. Jeremy raised his glass. "But mostly," Amanda continued, voice dropping slightly, "she stopped shrinking, and the rest of us got to watch that happen in real time, which was honestly a privilege." glasses raised around the deck. I looked at the ocean and blinked exactly twice. Not crying, just acknowledging. At 4 p.m, there was a knock at the front door. I wasn't expecting anyone else. I opened it and found Alex standing on my porch, holding a wrapped package and looking like he hadn't slept properly in several days. Behind him, parked on the grass verge, his BMW. He came alone. "I should have called," he said immediately. "Yes." "I didn't know if you'd pick up." "Probably not," I said honestly. He nodded. "Fair enough." He held out the package. "Can I give you this at least?" I stepped aside. "Come in." We sat at the end of the dock while the party wound down inside, the package between us, neither of us reaching for it. Alex said finally, looking at the water, "Therapy has been confronting," he said. "Good confronting or bad?" "Both." He paused. "The therapist asked me to describe your childhood in 3 words. I said normal, quiet, fine." He turned to look at me. Then she asked me to describe mine. I waited. I used 14 words. She didn't say anything, just let me sit with that. I looked at my brother. He was 35 years old and looked genuinely lost in a way I had never seen him before. Alex had always been certain of his place, his value, his welcome in every room. Uncertainty looked strange on him, but it looked real. "Mum's in therapy too," Alex said. "She cried for the whole first session apparently. Dad still won't go." "That tracks." "She talks about you differently now, Jen. I don't know if that helps." "It's a start," I said, because it was. He pushed the package toward me. "Open it." Inside was a framed photograph I had never seen. Me, 7 years old, in the backyard of the Mossman house, sitting on the old rope swing laughing at something beyond the camera. Just me, no one else in the frame. I stared at it for a long time. "Found it in Dad's study," Alex said quietly, "in a box at the back of the bottom drawer. Had it restored and framed." He paused. "He kept it, Jen, all this time. He just never said anything." I ran my thumb across the edge of the frame. 7-year-old Jennifer Wade, laughing in a backyard with no idea what was coming. I wanted to tell her she'd be okay, that she'd figure it out, that she'd end up on a deck in Byron Bay surrounded by people who chose her, that the house would be hers, that the ring would be real, that she'd stop waiting. "Thank you," I said to Alex, and I meant it. A car door, footsteps on the path. I looked up. Mum stood at the edge of the dock, alone, a small bakery box in both hands. She wasn't dressed up, no performance tonight, just Mum in a blue linen shirt, hair down, looking smaller than I remembered. She stopped a few meters away, like she wasn't sure of her welcome. I didn't move toward her, but I didn't look away either. "I brought carrot cake," she said. Her voice was steady, but only just. "You always liked it. I should have remembered that more often." The 3 of us sat there in the late afternoon light, the water moving gently below the dock, the sound of laughter drifting from inside the house. Small, but real. Not a solution, not a full reckoning, not everything I deserved, but a beginning. And at 33, with a house I chose, a man I love, and people around me who see me clearly, a beginning was enough. Later that night, after everyone had gone, Jeremy and I sat on the deck in the dark, the ocean invisible but audible, stars doing their thing above us. He reached over and took my hand. "Good birthday?" I thought about the photo of 7-year-old me on the swing, about Samantha saying settled, about Amanda giving the toast, about the carrot cake on the kitchen counter, about the click of a door closing in Mossman, and the feeling of walking away from something that no longer had power over me. "Yeah," I said, and I meant it.